It sounds like a simple, common-sense question. Should we test new vaccines against a placebo to see if they are truly safe and effective? But when HHS Secretary RFK Jr. ordered exactly that, the reaction from the pharmaceutical industry and its media allies wasn't just criticism. It was outrage. They called it unethical, unnecessary, dangerous. Yet, it is evidently controversial to demand that the vaccines that many public schools require for their students are to be tested before they are forced upon innocent children. To be clear, the tests he is requesting would be conducted on adults who are volunteering to partake in a study. So, what is the real reason for the uproar? If we weren't doing placebo testing before, what exactly were we doing? The answer is a story the establishment does not want you to hear. A story of two terrifying truths. First, for decades, critical ingredients and entire vaccines have been released without rigorous safety testing. In 2002, a congressional hearing forced an FDA official to admit the mercury-based preservative thimerosal had not been tested for safety since 1929. Let that sink in. For over 70 years, children were injected with heavy metals, based on assumptions, not science. But that is not the worst part. The second truth is far darker. The tests that were conducted were not just inadequate, they were monstrously unethical. In the 1930s, the pharmaceutical giant Burroughs Wellcome, now part of GlaxoSmithKline, conducted secret diphtheria vaccine trials on Irish orphans. Children with no parents, no protectors, were used as human guinea pigs. In 2014, the unmarked mass graves of these children were unearthed. A silent testament to a history they want buried. This pattern didn't end in the past. In 2009, under the Bill Gates Foundation, thousands of young girls in India were given HPV vaccines without informed consent. They were told it was a wellness shot. Many were later injured, their lives forever altered, in an experiment condemned by the Indian government. And then there is the poster child for unethical experimentation, Dr. Anthony Fauci. In the 1980s and 90s, his NIH oversaw clinical trials that used foster children, the most vulnerable of the vulnerable. Fauci used them as test subjects for toxic experimental drugs. Children who resisted were forcibly medicated through feeding tubes. At least 25 of them died. This is their ethical standard. This is the system they are so desperate to protect. It is absolutely tragic what children around the world have endured for the sake of globalist greed and sick ambitions for population control. But there is one final, crucial piece to this puzzle. A legal loophole so vast, it makes this entire cycle of abuse possible. It's called liability protection. And it works in a way that would be unthinkable in any other industry. Think of it like this. If you own a bakery and you sell a donut that accidentally makes a few children sick with food poisoning, you surely will be held responsible. You can be sued. Your business can be ruined. You have a powerful incentive to make sure your donuts are safe for consumption. Now, imagine you are a pharmaceutical company. You manufacture a vaccine that causes a severe lifelong injury in a child. In that case, you are virtually untouchable. Since 1986, these companies have been granted a unique shield from lawsuits. If their product causes harm, they cannot be held liable in a traditional court. And this power isn't just theoretical. During the COVID pandemic, the governments of Argentina and Brazil came out and openly accused Pfizer of bullying them into signing contracts that would put their sovereign assets, including military bases and federal bank reserves, on the line as collateral against any future vaccine injury lawsuits. That's right, COVID was a time where it all went out of control. Long-term safety. Gone. Any treatment that worked was hounded into obscurity. Because for emergency use authorization to be legal, there could be no alternative. It was the perfect legal packaging to push a product that could not be sued. A product that didn't even meet the old definition of a vaccine. A definition they quietly changed. Safe and effective was never a scientific conclusion. It was a marketing slogan, bought and paid for by the pharma companies, and injected into the public consciousness. Now you know why the media calls placebo tests unethical. That's because it is a shield to protect a corrupt alliance of big pharma and government agencies from a simple, devastating truth. They have never held safety to the highest standard. They face no real consequences if they get it wrong. They have operated in the shadows, and RFK Jr. is turning on the lights. In conclusion, the outrage isn't about ethics. It's about exposure. The demand for placebo testing is the first step. It's about finally establishing the truth about safety. But the second, non-negotiable step is to remove the liability shield. We must restore the most powerful driver of safety ever invented. Accountability. When a company knows it can be held fully responsible for the harm its product causes, it has an undeniable, powerful reason to make that product as safe as possible. The sinister health regime that ruled for decades is being dismantled, one truth at a time. The call for testing and accountability will be the return to common sense, to justice, and to the fundamental principle that the health of our children must never ever be less important than the profits of a protected industry.